solution in search of a problem right there.
We have plenty of problems. That won't be difficult.
We have lots of candidates to support, which reminds me, someone I forgot. Oh, I know. Chris Dooley said that he would like to have a photograph with as many candidates as possible. We should have thought of this yesterday. A group picture, so stick around. I don't know when a good time for that would be. I want to thank the AV team, but I'm sure I'm leaving people off. But I know people who have helped with that have been Chris, Julie, Matt Clements, David Ulmer, especially David for running around so much with the mic. Thank you, David! And our videography team, Anthony and Victor. Thanks, guys. You've done an amazing job. I hope. I want to thank our speakers, especially Dr. Larb, who I don't think is here this morning yet. Again, I'd like to thank the convention committee, Matt Clements, Angela. Your name is just totally. I have name issues. Angela Anderson, because it's such a weird name. Angela Anderson and Kathy Cockrell. Sorry guys, I'm really bad with names, and I'm still on my first copy. Especially Angela. I guess that's the weird part. Thanks so much. Last night looked beautiful, right? All those centerpieces and stuff. You guys did a great job. Thank you. And mostly, I'd like to thank Barbara and Andy for not making me look like more of an idiot. Thanks, guys, so much for doing the secretary work. And I don't think we could have gotten through the platform discussion so gracefully without them. Sure of it. So today we have our resolutions. We have the nomination election for the executive committee vacancies, and we want to choose delegates to the national convention. Hang on one second. And sorry, there's a last minute. Judicial committee also has to be selected yearly. For some reason I was thinking it was bi-yearly or every other year or whatever, but it's yearly, so we have to appoint them too. In that skip, Brian?
And after that, other business.
And after that, other business as time allows. I say as time allows because we want to work in a couple of speakers. We have a couple of people who have made the trip out here to just to visit with us. Joshua Smith is running for national chair. Adam Kokesh is not running for maybe something, and he's an activist and he would like to speak to us. And Nick Sarwalk, the national chair, will be calling in, and he would like to be here, but there's his wife is having a baby, not Nick himself. That would be he's a great guy, but that would be awesome.
Right. So,
let us go on to the resolution. Okay. We got a copy of the resolutions printed yesterday. I don't know if you still have them. And I will ask the movers to read them.
Does everybody have a copy?
Yes, thank you, there's extra copies here. Yes?
That's just, this is the time since the reading of that resolutions was yesterday, we proceed immediately to the debate.
Is everyone comfortable with that?
That's what the rules say.
Anybody who needs a copy?
Let the mover speak to his.
That sounds fun. Okay. So, we will go straight to debate on this resolution since they have been presented.
Anybody else?
Tom, would you like to speak to your resolution? Yours is the first on the list.
Yes, thank you.
Basically, the resolution calls on the executive committee to do a thorough study of the costs and benefits and dangers of having the unaffiliated vote in our primaries. Now, a couple people come to me and ask, why study? Why not just resolve to delete it? And the reason is because there's no rush. Next year is municipal, and there's very few partisan elections in municipal, so it probably won't come up. So we have a full 2 years to make a decision, and there's data to come in. Chiefly, how many unaffiliateds actually asked for a Libertarian ballot? And the other thing I'd like to know is what's the experience of other states? So it's an important decision, so I just want to gather as much data as I can to make the correct one. So what it calls for mainly is for the execcom to do a study of it and see what a rational decision would be. So that's all I'm asking for, is to do the study, and I'm pretty sure they would do it without the resolution, but it's nice to have it on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So open the floor to discussion on this. Let's try to keep the discussion to 10 minutes. Okay. Phil, there's someone right behind you. Oh, Sarah. Okay.
I just want to say, for this vote, I actually plan to abstain because as the acting political director, the responsibility will likely fall to me to gather a lot of the information in the study. I wanted to just thank Tom for the wording of the resolution itself, and I am not at all opposed to the idea of gathering the information so that anyone in the membership as well as the executive committee can have all the information necessary to make a good decision and not rush to a decision based on the outcome or the intentions of any one election.
Phil?
What she said.
This may take significantly less than 10 minutes. Adam?
For anybody who doesn't know, I'm the guy who lost one of the primaries that inspired this resolution. I will say I did not lose my primary because of unaffiliated voter infiltration of the primary. I lost it basically on a factor of time. My opponent had been campaigning for that office for the past 6 years. I campaigned for about 2 months. So I just want that to be taken into consideration, that there's much more to how we're vulnerable in the primaries than just the unaffiliated vote being able to, or unaffiliated voters being able to vote in our primary. That said, I do think it's important to know what kind of influence unaffiliated voters can have on our primaries, and I do think it's important that we as a minority party should close off the ability of unaffiliated voters to vote in our primary until we're a little stronger on county affiliations. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you so much, Adam, for running for Sheriff of Randolph County. Yeah, but I mean, if he's there, we can do it after this. I'm sorry, Brian?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Adam said, and Adam, congratulations. I think this is a great resolution, we need to look at it, but I kind of already made my mind up, but I'm open to actually looking at the data. But I'd like to add that this is really not our problem. Our problem is now that we are a ballot qualified candidate and will remain so forever, we're going to have interlopers trying to raid our ballot. So we need, I don't want to amend the motion, but I have a platform plan that I've proposed that may not be considered, but I think we're going to consider the policy of saying that the state should have no control over who runs under what party's banner. That's really the problem. Anybody can register Libertarian and file for office as a Libertarian, and no matter what they are, what they believe. Democrats and Republicans have had this problem, but they have control of the system, so they can handle it that way. But we can't. So it's something to consider. It may be part of this or not.
Gotta go this way with Eric.
I will keep my remarks very brief. I want to speak in support of this resolution. There is nothing ever bad about more information. This is not calling to action. So I fully support this resolution. Thank you.
Is that it for discussion? Okay, we'll move to a vote. This requires 2/3 to pass. So ayes to vote for the resolution and nays to vote against it. Ayes?
Aye.
Nays? Passes. Thank you. All right. Resolution 2. Eric, would you like to speak to your resolution?
So I made the resolution yesterday that the state party and the members here formally accept and recognize the outreach organization of the Outright Libertarians. The partnership has been going on now in this state for several years, and it has become a very strong connection between the Outright Libertarians and the state party in North Carolina. And I feel that it would be a great show of great faith and continued working together if the state party officially recognizes the Outright Libertarians.
You've got control. It's
Okay, so real quick, we've done events in Wake for a long time. They're great for us. I mean, we had, the last one we just had like a month and a half ago. We must have had 7 candidates come through and work at booth. It was really set up nice. It had Libertarian stuff, it had stuff from Eric's group. And Republicans aren't there. The one Democrat in his booth, it was just sad. Really, I actually took a picture of it. It was like one lonely guy with no table and 2 yard signs. So I mean, it's great outreach. There's no downside to this.
I believe so. I'm sorry. I would like to continue discussion if that's, wait, because I see a lot of people wanting to say something. Is there any objection to anyone wanting to? Okay. Sarah, I think you will raise your hand first, plus it makes David run maximally.
You're a mean woman.
My calendar.
I just wanted to speak in favor of the motion and thank the Outright Libertarians for their help. It's no small thing to say that the Libertarian Party has been in favor of the rights of gender and sexual minorities since its inception. We have always been in favor of marriage equality and equality regardless. And I think that it is great to support this organization to continue our outreach in that community.
Chair
I do support the resolution. I have one concern over it though, where it does say Libertarian, where accept Outright Libertarians as the official outreach organization. I would propose that we change that to an outreach organization. The word "the" implies it will be and can only be the only outreach organization. I think you should make it open so that we can include other outreach organizations too.
That sounds like an amendment.
Yes.
Right.
Is there a second?
The mover says he would be fine with that.
Okay.
That's good.
I would say primary.
Yeah.
There's a negotiation happening.
Yes.
Are you good with primary? Because we have 3 people. Sorry, Andy, we're trying to make this as confusing as possible.
No, I'm not good with primary.
Okay.
I want it to be "and" because that kind of leaves it open-ended so that we can include more, and I don't want one to supersede anybody else.
You good with that, Eric?
Actually, if I could speak into that.
So as far as LGBT organizations within the party, Outright Libertarians is the second organization in the history of the party. They came around in 1988. Prior to 1988, there was a precursor organization. It was more of a name change than anything else. So there has only been one primary LGBT or GSM outreach organization within the state or within the nation.
I know, I could go to the back of the room if you want to go further.
What?
Might actually be competitive in a foot race with you.
I don't know, she's pretty spry.
I am not in the least bit opposed to the idea, but I am opposed to so much of the language. It's either, it's the Libertarian Party of North Carolina, or it's,
If I could just interrupt for 1 sec, because I was just thinking about that. I would just like to propose that as a grammatical change.
okay.
The Libertarian Party of North Carolina hereby recognizes.
But that's not my only complaint. Further on, unless the gender and sexual minority community is an official group, all those need to be lowercase. And it does change the language of you know, how it's written. And then an outreach group, because the way it reads now, this is gonna be the only outreach group for all causes. Not just those of the gender and sexual minority community. So my complaints are language, not thought or theory.
So if that is now the concern, I will concede to and.
Okay.
In lowercase.
I'm not sure if that was the primary concern. I thought we should.
Well, no, Ian really addressed, just
Okay,
that
perfect.
word addresses
Okay.
a lot.
So the current wording, let me just make sure we have this.
Yeah.
Can that be brightened? Needs to be brightened and enlarged.
Is that easier?
Yeah. Can it be enlarged? Okay.
The Libertarian Party of North Carolina hereby recognizes and accepts the outright libertarians as the official outreach organization to the gender and sexual minority, parenthetically GSM community.
What happened to the and?
That was the amendment that we have not officially.
I think
no.
the mover accepted it.
I
think
did.
that-
Oh, friendly amendment. Who is the new?
Oh, you mean the mover of
The mover
the
of the
change?
Michael Patton, Wake County?
Thanks. Sorry about that. Wait, I know a couple people want to speak. Yes.
Jesse Shearing. I'd like to speak to that change. First of all, it seems to me it's almost an insult to the group we're trying to encourage to say they are an outreach. You know, if it's an official representation of the party, then it should be the official representation, you know, of the party for this purpose. If later we wish to add another outreach, then they would become an outreach at that point.
I appreciate that, but now are you speaking against
I'm
what the
speaking
mover?
for the motion as written, as he read it right there, the official.
Right, but
outreach.
it's now been changed by the mover because he accepted that.
Well, now I speak against him then.
Right.
But I think it was better before.
Thank you. Brian, I believe you were next.
I'm gonna throw a real monkey wrench into this whole thing.
Oh.
Surprise!
Here's my-
No. Our bylaws allow us to recognize affiliates of any type, so I would recommend we recognize outright libertarian as an affiliate of the LPNC. And I have language.
As in.
That's, I think.
After the word as, insert an affiliate of the party and or the official.
So my concern with that, I'm not sure if I should speak at this point, but I just want to speak in a procedural sense, is because that is another organization, so our bylaws may conflict with their bylaws. They may have certain responsibilities as was that your point, Tom?
Yes.
Thank you. So I think there's some kind of organizational conflict potential there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
We will look at that in the future as potentially becoming an affiliate of the state of North Carolina, but as pointed out, we have to make sure that all of our bylaws mesh so there's no conflict.
Okay.
Something that we can do in the future.
I mean, it may be that they, you know, some of their officers are Republicans or something, and that's not, sorry, I didn't mean to put it like that.
They might not be libertarian.
Not right libertarians, they use the name, so.
Well, you would think, but, you know.
I get it, I get it.
So,
I would like to put everyone's mind at ease, that is not the case.
They could be unaffiliated.
I think we need to have an investigation.
was there any other
They could be
comments
unaffiliated.
or discussion, Tom?
My original point was covered by Michael here, but I just want to comment on
Is
the
that-
the versus and controversy. Since there's only one, historically there's only one, and there's likely to be only one, it makes no difference when we say they're an official outreach organization and there is no other, then that's them. Now suppose somebody organizes a new one between now and the next convention. They're still an official, and these other guys are non-official. So it winds up making no difference. So, let's not overthink this.
One question?
I do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question. Has this group been addressed? I mean, are they aware of this? Are we just doing it on our own?
No, I have been in contact with the national chair as well on this.
And they would like to be in this capacity?
Yes, and we are, the Outright Libertarians as a national organization has been officially recognized by California, Colorado, and a couple of other states as well.
Well, they're willing to be our official group?
Correct.
All right.
So, the time we had sort of allocated is up. Matt, if you wanted to speak.
Among other people that are here today, I've done volunteering for outreach for Outright Libertarians, and you never get an opportunity to create new libertarians, and it would be very short-sighted for any member here to oppose this resolution for semantics, for language. If you are, then you're basically saying that you're uninterested in showing people that the Libertarian Party is the perfect destination for their concerns.
Thank you. I think that closes the discussion. We'll move to a vote. So again, I is to pass the resolution as amended, and nay is to fail the resolution. So ayes? Aye. Okay. I believe that passes.
Ray. Vote for it. Vote for it. Came over me. I've never been, Madam Chair, I have a point of personal privilege. I just want to say I'm still 100% in favor of the rights of people who have sex with Republicans.
Good for you.
I'd like to export him out of the park.
That's pretty radical of you.
Does that
Okay,
apply to
we have
Democrats still?
we have time for some speakers, but hang on one sec.
I'd be in trouble, I would have been in trouble a few years ago.
Is that, oh, I thought we just worked.
He's getting coffee right now, so we probably have a little bit of time.
Okay. So, Adam, would you like to come get me?
Sure.
So, yes. So Adam Kokesh, a lot of you will recognize the name. He's currently sort of maybe running for president, or not. And
Or not.
to the party, great speaker, nice guy, and I'm not very good at introductions. This is Adam Kokesh. And
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to come down here after being in Ohio yesterday for their state convention, and that is really due to the hardcore overnight driving of my head of security, Elijah Gizzarelli, and of course, your next chair of the LNC, Joshua Smith. So give it up for him to make that possible. really do appreciate the introduction being perfectly awkward from Susan. That was very appropriate, very libertarian. But there is, it is true, I am running for president in 2020 on the platform of the peaceful, orderly, responsible dissolution of the entire United States federal government. Most people are pretty excited about that idea. Am I in the wrong room?
You're in the right.
So, I have to say though, I cringe every time I have to say that I'm running for president or someone introduces me that way. A little piece of me dies inside because I don't think there's anything more anti-freedom or unlibertarian you can say than, I want to be president of the United States. I want to be in charge of this giant violent monopoly and I want to be able to force my will on this entire country. That's insane. This campaign started because years ago someone was challenging me in debate. They said, oh yeah, well, what would you do if you were president? Really? What would I do if I was president? Well, quit, go home, and get a real job. You know, it's a silly position. It shouldn't exist. How do we get out of this, right? And there's a lot of talk about the divides within the freedom movement, and you know, they're usually pretty silly and pretty petty. And I'm going to tell you real briefly about my favorite one before I tell you why we should never ever talk about it again. And it's a stupid rhetorical divide that should have no relevance on how this party moves forward together. But you're all familiar with the anarchy-minarchy divide. We had a great presentation last night from Karen Ann Harlos, the next secretary of the LNC, about the history of the statement of principles of the party and how that came together with the famous Dallas Accord of 1974. And that was the opportunity for minarchists and anarchists to work together, right? The thing is, it really is a meaningless semantic divide because I've never heard a definition of libertarian that includes the idea we should have rulers. Anarchy simply means no rulers, and anybody who calls themselves a libertarian is also an anarchist. Yeah, there, I said it. But if you're a minarchist and you want government to be restrained to things it can only achieve voluntarily in a way that everybody has the ability to opt out of, then you know it's the exact same principle behind the philosophy that we all can agree on. You know, for an anarchist to say, well, we're going to define that as no government, that's the same kind of anti-libertarian central planning of ruling people in the first place. Who are we to say, you can't come together and form an organization, call it a government? That's our word. You're not allowed to use that word for your homeowners association or your voluntary collective or whatever it is. How many of you think the libertarian position is pro-gun? Did I set it up too obviously like a trick question? Because all of you are going, yeah, we know where you're going with this, Adam. How about pro-drugs, right? We think of the libertarian position as pro-drugs. It's neither. You know, a lot of people who talk about, oh, we need to work together, we need to get past these divides, we don't present a different understanding that actually shows how we come together. The divide is not between people who see this particular end goal or that particular end goal. The divide is between people who are libertarians who would sign the pledge, who would check the box and say, I oppose the initiation of force to achieve political or social goals, versus the people who don't. That's the important divide. I mean, think of the term that Murray Rothbard came up with for describing what we believe in, right? Anarcho-capitalism. He took the two worst possible words to describe what we're talking about and combined them into one term guaranteed to offend people all across the political spectrum. But even the word libertarian should be unnecessary. I kind of resent the fact that we've even come up with the word libertarian when ethical person should be enough to say, yeah, you're an ethical person. You don't want to use violence against peaceful people, no matter what the excuse. How about that? It's time that we stop not just pretending like this petty infighting is meaningful, but actually bring people together under the one word that unites us, libertarian. Anybody here for unity? Did I screw up the timing on that? You guys, this can be interactive, you know? All right. The thing about the issues of guns and drugs, the reason I raise those is not just that they're, these great cliche issues for libertarians now, because they provide really obvious examples of where we have been falling for this statist idea that we all need to be forced into one system, and that we need to argue over what the outcomes and the appearance of that one system is. For example, with the gun issue. The libertarian position is not pro-gun or anti-gun, it is pro-private property, and nobody has the right to tell you what kind of property you can and cannot own. How about that? If you want to ban guns on your own property, you have the right to do that, and it's unlibertarian to me to violate your private property and bring a gun on your property. If you want to get together with a group of people to do that and create a community where guns aren't allowed, we have to encourage that and respect that you're going to want to come together in communities that meet your needs. You form such a community, I'm not going to live there, but that's okay. You can have a gun-free community if you want, based on private property. Same thing with drugs, right? You want to ban drugs in your home? Okay, fine. You want to ban drugs in a community where people come together voluntarily to do that? All right, well, I'm not going to go to any of your parties, but hey, I'm also not going to force drugs in your private property against your will. So this idea of localization unites us. Not just the splinter groups, but when you say we're going to get government down to the community level, we're going to get government down to the level where everybody gets what they want. This is the everybody gets what they want strategy. We don't have to argue philosophy. We don't have to argue issues. We bring people together on getting what they want because our principles work, and we should have that faith in our principles. It's not you can't have this government or that government or this much government or that much government. You can have as much government as you want as long as it's voluntary. How do we get to that point? Stop buying into the statist lie that we need to be forced into one giant collective. As I see it, the big divide in this movement is not between anarchists and minarchists or people of principle or pragmatism. It's between the doers and the talkers. And there are a lot of talkers who will sit around and say, we should do this, we gotta do this. If we don't fix this strategy, we're wrong, we're gonna lose, we're gonna keep losing, whatever. And then there are people who show up to meetings, who get shit done, who go out and run for office. And that's why I love traveling to state conventions all over the country and seeing the doers in action. And I know sometimes it seems like a lot of slogging through arguments about where commas go and things like that. But just looking at how much fun you guys are having here in North Carolina this morning, I can tell that you guys are enjoying the process and you take some deeper satisfaction in what you're doing. I really want to encourage that. I think it's beautiful to see. So real quick, I got just a minute left. I want to talk about a couple things that I'm doing. One, this book that I started writing when I was in jail, I was surrounded by all the great libertarian manifestos, and I decided that I would be the greatest rip-off artist the freedom movement has ever known. And I took all of their strengths and none of their weaknesses, because we don't believe in intellectual property, right? What a scam. This book is explicitly anti-intellectual property. You can rip it. We left my name off the cover. You can put your name on the cover and sell more copies if you want. We are putting a copy of this book in every single residential mailbox in New Orleans, 205,000 copies. We raised most of the $120,000 necessary to do that. It's happening later this summer. We are putting the message directly in people's hands extremely efficiently, 60 cents each at that scale. If you didn't get a copy, we got a box there in the back next to my girlfriend Stacy, who has bravely joined me on the road for most of this spring tour. All right, finally, you have your state convention selection of delegates to national coming up later this morning, correct? Mm-hmm. I just want to make sure that nobody here turns down the opportunity to be a delegate to national because of a perceived lack of funding. We are organized. My national delegate coordinator, he has another title, Elijah Gitzarelli's here. You can email him, elijah@thefreedomline.com, and he will help you get transportation, shared lodging, whatever it takes to make sure that people who care about this message and care about this party are able to get to New Orleans. 2018 is a very important year for the Libertarian Party. It's going to be a very exciting convention, so I hope to see you all there, whether or not you're delegates. Obviously, you got enough delegate slots here to get everybody in this room covered as an alternate, so do it. And finally, since I'm over time, I get to give away approximately $3,000 a day in cryptocurrency on a website called steemit.com. I want to share that with everybody here. If anybody is producing any kind of content whatsoever, please come find me after this. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed, and thanks for the books. I will say I take extreme exception to one thing you said. The placement of commas is very important.
Grammar Nazi.
Oxford all the way.
For commas.
See Mark. Yes. The rest of you. You're out of the party. I think we'll go. Microphone. Yeah. I think we'll go straight to. We're a little ahead of time, but I don't think anyone will object going to nomination election for filling the executive committee vacancies. If you want to object, you won't be in the room, so I know it's a kind of a trick. But if people who are in the room object to moving the schedule forward by 15 minutes. Okay. I was looking at Brian. Thank you. He's going like this, so I'm thinking that's okay. So we elect our executive committee for 2-year terms, and we do that in the odd years. And this is an odd year, but it's actually an even year number-wise. So we don't have a regular slate of election, but we do have the responsibility of filling the terms of people who left the executive committee. And we had a couple of people whose responsibilities in life or whatever took them off the executive committee through the year, and we want some of those positions. Most of those positions have been filled by people who have volunteered either from other positions within the executive committee, therefore opening another opening, or from people outside the executive committee. So their names will be placed in nomination, and we'll just work on down. I think we have a couple of at-large spots, several at-large spots, and vice chair and secretary. So the vice chair position was vacated, it was held by Nathan Phillips, and was vacated by him, and it had been filled by Brent DeRitter, and he's been acting in that role. He's unfortunately not able to be here today, but he is excited about serving as vice chair, and I'm excited about having him serve as vice chair because we work really well together, and he has a lot of energy and great ideas. I will say he was serving as secretary, so then that will open a secretary slot, so we'll get to that. But I'm going to place Brent DeRitter's name in nomination. If anyone else would like to nominate someone or themselves for the vice chair position that's been vacated by Nathan Phillips leaving, please speak. Yeah, speak now.
Do you need seconds?
No.
No.
Because I'd like to second that.
No. Thank you. No. So, are no other nominations? Hearing none, we're just going to do a voice vote. So Brent DeRitter and none of the above, which would be not the other above. I'm sorry, Adam, you had a question?
No, I was just telling you to hold on so I can take a video of this for Brent.
Oh. Hey, Brent, where the heck are you? He had important work. And that's cool. Great. Good? Okay. So, all for Brent, hands? Okay. And all for none of the above, hands? Sweet. All right, so I believe that Brent is now our vice chair. So Brent's position on the executive committee when he became the acting vice chair was secretary. So now we have an open secretary position. However, one of the at-large members of the executive committee, Ryan Teeter, or Ben, or Ryan Teeter, everyone likes to have two names these days, has been acting as secretary, and he would like to serve out the rest of the term as secretary, so I'm going to place his name in nomination for secretary, but I'll open the floor for other nominations for secretary. Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Again, show of hands for Ryan. Okay, show of hands for none of the above. I believe he squeaked by on that one. Hang on one sec, I'm here. So, there were 3 seats vacated, 3 at-large seats vacated, Alec Wilson, J.J. Summerall, and James Hines. And then a 4th when Ryan left his at-large position to assume a position as secretary. Trying to keep this straight in my own head, I don't know if you guys are following, but and the executive committee, as those positions came open, was able to find people who were excited to join the executive committee as our at-large members and continue the work. So I want to go through those in the order I think that they were appointed. And then, okay. Well, then I would like to consider them as a slate. And I'll just go. Yeah. I'll tell you the names of the 4 people who are the 3 people who are currently serving in those 4 positions, and then I'll open the floor for nominations for any of those positions. Currently serving, Aaron Jeffers, who stepped in, Kevin Ayler, who stepped in and is also our volunteer coordinator, so he's very excited, and I have to say, Aaron can't be here because he's out of the country. I don't think Kevin is here, right?
No.
I don't know if he can be here. Sarah Brady Wagner, who was our political director and was working very hard, and then we said that's not hard enough, so we a large member and show up to our meetings, and she has. And so those are the 3 people currently serving on 4 positions. Open up for nominations for.
Do you want to briefly go over the responsibilities for anybody who's interested in being nominated?
Thank you. So the main responsibilities, Matt asked me to review the responsibilities. The main thing is to show up for meetings, and most of our meetings are teleconference, but we try to meet once a quarter in person. I'd like us to meet more, but I'm at events and doing things, so we see each other frequently. But those are your official duties as an at-large member, to show up, to help in the party governance by, reviewing reviewing financial documents as a finance person, but by keeping some sort of oversight on the party, helping the party make decisions that come up between conventions where we can't ask the entire body. So if you can think of any other duties as an at-large, and other duties as taken on their side. So a lot of at-large members will take on things like volunteer coordinator, political director, but it's not required. It's encouraged. So nominations for at-large. Reed?
Reed Deal Davidson County affiliate. I'd like to nominate Michelle Barnett.
Thank you. And I believe Michelle has indicated an interest.
That she is willing, yes,
Okay.
and has interest.
Okay. Okay, that's 4 nominations for 4 slots. Sarah?
I'd like to nominate Adam Brooks.
Adam, are you interested in accepting the nomination? Okay. Okay, great. So we will need those ballots. It'll be a moment while we get the ballots out. We'll have Brian?
Question, I know this is a stupid question, everybody's gonna boo me, but I wanna confirm that the two people nominated are actually members of the LPNC. Do I have an amen?
Well, no,
Amen.
they're delegates here, so Brad's done that work.
Well,
Oh,
either
oh my gosh,
are either the people here?
Yes.
both of them.
You willing to-
Well, there have been 5 people nominated.
Yes, I am a member.
So,
I'm new, but I'm here. I just moved here from Missouri, so. No, I am.
That would be a no bueno.
okay, so we're going to pass out ballots, and they will have, you will, right. The ballots have 3 slots, but there are actually 4 positions we're filling, and I think, do you have the names up there? Yeah. Okay. And you put the names up.
I can throw as many one.
So,
Like a kid with crayons.
yes, hang on one sec. So, you need to write down the names of 4 people, or if you want, 4 people for those 4 slots out of the 6 choices, which include 5 names and none of the above.
Can you make those 5 names like be on the screen?
They are.
Big, so we can see them.
I'm pretty close, we still have 20/20.
Yeah.
I zoomed in 200%.
Our nomination's closed.
Our nomination.
Everybody know how to spell Noda?
Everybody need a pencil?
No, we have
Our nomination.
You're missing Adam.
Yeah, you're missing.
No, I think it's on there. There you go.
All right.
So our nomination's closed?
Pardon me?
Our nomination's closed?
I'm sorry, nominations are,
Did you ask for any
we
other?
had gone to that, but further nominations? Yes.
I'd like to nominate Dave Lamont.
David, will you accept that
Yes.
nomination? Okay.
Yes, I'll accept it.
Okay. David Lamont. Does anyone want to
Let's throw
ask
another.
the candidate
Yeah.
here, to give a pitch?
I already got chocolate. Let me get this. What?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to hear from the 3 nominees who are here, which is, Adam, David, and Michelle.
There are 4 nominees here.
And Sarah?
And Sarah.
And Sarah. I guess Sarah.
2 minutes each, and pass that one around, does that work for you?
No. Yeah, just pass the mic.
Hi, I'm Michelle Burnett. I am new to North Carolina. I just moved back here recently. I was born and raised here, actually. But this is my first North Carolina convention, and I was here yesterday. Unfortunately, I didn't feel it. I am the Davidson County Executive Committee Secretary, and I would very much love to help out at the state level. So that's it.
Welcome back.
Dave Lamont, I'm basically a lifelong North Carolinian. I've always gravitated to libertarian politics. I got my wife interested in it, and I've got my wife interested in politics, and I just think that everybody should serve on the EC at some point in their libertarian career, if this is what you want to call it. And she seems to be having so much fun, I decided I needed to have some fun.
I have a quick question for the 4 nominees.
5.
The people who are here. Are you registered libertarian, not unaffiliated?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. David?
Yes,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a libertarian.
Okay.
He's been registered for a while.
Point of information,
Yes.
is there a problem with being registered unaffiliated?
Yeah, good
I
point.
don't know, but I have that question.
There is no problem, as far as I know. In fact, I believe a current member of the EC is unaffiliated.
Okay. I just would like to know.
All right, As I said earlier, I'm Adam Brooks. I am recently defeated candidate for sheriff in Randolph County. I'm the founder of the Randolph County Libertarian Party. And I've been active with the party for many years. Fell out of activism when we bought our house and life kind of took over and had to take a back seat. Here recently, I've been reinvigorated by my recent campaign, and for any of you who follow me on Facebook, you've seen how enthusiastic and how much I've enjoyed my time here at this convention today or this weekend. And I had considered putting my name up for the executive committee, but it wasn't until Sarah just asked me if I wanted to do it that I decided I was okay with the idea. So thanks for considering me, and thanks for your time.
Do you have a question? I do. I have a question about voting.
Yeah.
How are these votes going to be tabulated, because we have an actual real election? For instance, bullet voting, say you want just one person, do you put no to in for, how, can somebody explain?
Are we doing ranked choice, or is this just a bullet voting?
The 4 people with the 3 or 4 people with the most votes wins. That's the way it works.
4, but yeah.
Yeah.
Including none.
Multi-seat offices, each delegate may cast a ballot with a vote for either none of the above or 1 vote per candidate for any of the candidates.
For any number of candidates.
Any number of candidates. Every ballot with a vote for none of the above or 1 or more candidates is counted as one ballot cast. A vote for none of the above shall be ignored if the ballot also includes a vote for any other candidate. Candidates receiving the most number of votes cast shall be nominated. Tie votes affecting the outcome shall be decided by lot. That's the new rule. So it's adopted in last year.
Point of information, so following up on Beverly's question, that means you can't vote for the same person 4 times and give them 4 votes, is that correct?
Correct. That's my understanding. You don't? Yes, you have 1 vote for each of 4 positions.
And if you vote for one person and no to, then your no to vote won't count.
You get 4.
True. That is true.
So you can one shot.
Do we want to finish the last speech?
I'm sorry, Sarah, my apologies. Small but mighty. Go ahead.
I have purple hair. I'm hard to miss. Come on. I'm Sarah Brady Wagner. I'm the acting political director and was appointed to the executive committee appointed by the executive committee to one of the empty slots. I've been in the position for about 9 months, and in that 9 months, we've had great success at recruiting candidates. This year, we have had a record 50 candidates, which is almost 3 times as much as last year. I can't take full credit for that. A lot of it is just an enthusiasm within the movement and more people who stepped up and are tired of what they see in politics and want to make change. But I would love to be able to continue that work on the executive committee for the next year at least.
Has everyone had enough exposure to the names that we can have the lights maybe up a bit? Thanks. Okay, while we count, I knew there was going to be someone very important that I left off my thank you list, and then spoke up. Brad, can you come up here for a second? Come up here, because yes. So Brad is always there and always doing stuff. So a lot of times it's easy to forget that he's there and doing stuff. But I don't think most of us realize, especially me, how much Brad does on a day-to-day basis within our database, training people, doing the registration. Thank you.
treasurer on how many campaigns?
Well, 9 counting the interim ones.
Thank you very much.
By the way, I'd like to put in a plug, or would you like to put in a plug for treasurers or for campaign?
Sure,
dollars?
absolutely.
Please, yes. Right, now for some very important words.
Yeah, we, of course, are trying to recruit candidates like crazy. For 2020, we're hoping to get a lot more. One of the gating factors, though, is that you do need to have reports filed with the North Carolina State Board of Elections to run for a North Carolina General Assembly seat, or with your local county board of elections if you're running for a local election. So therefore, and it's not a good idea if you're a candidate, it's not a good idea for you to be your own treasurer for a variety of reasons. So we definitely want folks who have an inclination to help out to consider taking the treasury training, which is offered online, very easy to do, it takes a couple of hours to become qualified to be a treasurer for either a candidate campaign, candidate committee rather, or your local affiliate. If your affiliate starts to raise money, they need to also be found, of course. So it's really a very good way to help the party. Also, I have been working with Robert Rose, who's one of our most experienced treasurers. He actually works both with federal candidates and local candidates, so he's qualified to, he's actually working for Jeff Matemo and Barbara Howell, both this year, who are our true federal candidates, to come up with a schema for compensating treasurers. So this wouldn't be necessarily paid by the LPNC, but by candidates who are more active. So you're not going to get rich, but I mean, there would be the potential as the party grows. There would definitely be some compensation for your time. So so I hope you guys will consider, either doing that yourself or make an effort to recruit folks who would be interested in doing that in your local affiliates. It would really be helpful for us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Joshua, is this a good time for you? Yeah. So Joshua Smith has driven all the way out here from Ohio. I don't know where he started out, but the last place was Ohio, and he's running for chair of the National Party. So those of you going to New Orleans will want to have as much information as possible about that important thing. And Joshua would like to speak to you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Thank you so much, Libertarians in North Carolina, for having me. As Ms. Hogarth did allude to, we drove from Ohio overnight. I have not slept, so I am a little out of sorts, and I apologize ahead of time. So as she also alluded to, I'm running for national chair of the Libertarian National Committee. I am going to give you a little background on myself. I am currently the Region 5 representative for the Libertarian Party of Washington, so that's where I started out. Recently, I traveled to 17 state conventions in the last 18 weeks, and I've actually been to 18 states because I went to Rhode Island, and all 12 of the party members met me at a bar. It wasn't actually a state convention, but it was a good time, and they fed me stuffies, and I'll never forget them. I was in the military. I joined the military sometime in 2001 or 2002, and I was on the USS Constellation that served in Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom. We were a big part of the shock and awe campaign, and I saw a lot of wasteful spending and a lot of loss of innocent human lives. And when I got out of the military sometime in 2005, I didn't really see a political home for me in the Republicans or the Democrats. They weren't really speaking to my feelings, and a big part of that was the anti-war sentiment. Found Ron Paul sometime in 2008. He was speaking exactly how I felt. I was still a registered Republican at the time, and I really rallied hard behind him in 2008. In 2010 sometime, I heard about the Libertarian Party for the first time, and I joined it in California. And as you can imagine, there wasn't a lot of liberty-minded people in California, especially in the Bay Area. I I reached out to the local, the national party. I didn't really ever get a call back or a message. No one really gave me a direction for my activism. I was hyped up. I was ready to go. And so I left the party probably 3 months after that. Since then, I've continued my own brand of activism. I've started a couple of publications. Some of you guys may have heard of Think Liberty. I'm one of the 4 founders of Think Liberty. Back in 2 years ago, I rejoined the party, the national party. I saw, I was really rocking behind Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, and I wanted to see them do really well. So I joined the party. I wanted them to have my donation, and I moved to Washington State and became a member of the Washington State Party. And I found a party that did help me direct my activism. I found a party that was lobbying at the Capitol every other week and getting arrested for protesting and really fighting the system, and that's what we're here to do. And so I joined the party. They made me the Region 5 rep there. I took over a region that had 5 counties and only 1 county affiliate. Since then, I built 2 new affiliates. I have also found an affiliate that was forgotten about by the old region rep, and we're really rocking there. So back in September, I kind of saw a national leadership team that wasn't reflecting the hardworking activism of the most important people in this party, you guys. They weren't reflecting our activism in Washington. They had some problems with messaging. A lot of candidates felt like they weren't getting the help that they deserved. And so I decided to put out a challenge and run for national chair. Since then, like I said, I've been to 17 states. It's been a wild ride, and I've listened to over 1,000 members of this party, and I've heard what they had to say, what they want to see from a national leadership team, and I built my platform around that. I started building coalitions with the crypto community. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the crypto community, but we went to the LNC meeting 4 weeks ago, and we got a blockchain committee instituted into the LNC, so now we're the only national political party that is fighting for crypto causes and blockchain solutions in this country. We've been able to raise some money. We've been able to raise some money for the CRM project through that, and if you guys are familiar with the CRM project, it's a data sharing project that's going to really help our party excel, especially going into another presidential election year. Yeah, absolutely. I've proposed that we build a youth wing of the LNC. I think that's really, really important. We see organizations doing it right now, like y'all and Libertarian Youth Caucus, and there's no reason why we shouldn't have our own. I think we should have a small committee of people non-voting that go and do outreach to college-age kids. They're ready for a third party. 60% of the population right now is not voting in this country. They're just not. Those are ours. They're looking for a third party, but they don't want a party that's going to pander to the 2 old parties, and they don't want a party that's going to be so inflammatory that it pushes them away from our causes. So I've talked a lot about consistent principled messaging. I think that's really, really important. We haven't really seen a consistent principled message coming out of the upper echelon of national leadership. Sometimes we pander to the Democrats, sometimes we pander to the Republicans, sometimes we go crazy and do Arvivora all over the place, whatever he's doing. So I've talked a lot about that. I've talked a lot about doing candidate education. I think that's really important. We have this goal of running 2,000 candidates. I think it's a very noble goal, but we barely have enough volunteers for 200 candidates. And so I really want to educate our candidates on how to door knock and fundraise and get volunteers and get a campaign manager, and how to have someone help them with campaign finance. I think that's really important. So I've talked about instituting a centralized educational tool, something like the Libertarian Leadership Academy that Michael Pickens has built. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. I think that would be really, really helpful. What else have I talked about? Sorry, I'm so tired, you guys. I drove all night, I haven't slept, okay? Yeah, and
You could take questions if you like.
oh yeah, we can do questions. You guys want to do questions? Yeah, anybody got any questions? Nobody. Libertarians without questions. Yes, sir.
When you talk about consistent messaging, what would you like to see moving forward the next year or 2 coming out from a national perspective?
Well, I'd really like, look, I'd like to reaffirm our principles, our statement principle especially, make sure that people know that that is what we stand for, and train our candidates on, educate our candidates on our principles and make sure that they're spreading our principles as well. Like I said, we're running 2,000 candidates across the country. Some of them are not really talking about our principles. Some of our leadership is not really talking about our principles. I'd like to see people not be inflammatory like Arvivora. I think that's really terrible. I would have voted yes a while back. we have to stay consistent. Like I said, that 60% of the population isn't voting right now, and they don't want to be a part of the two old parties. They just don't. So if we can stay consistent in our principles, show them that our solutions are the best solutions, we're going to bring them to the party hand over fist.
I'd just like to ask, what are your specific plans to improve fundraising, especially?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I've been talking about that. So I have proposed that in my first 3 months, I'm going to push to get a fundraising committee. In 2016, the National Party raised $2.2 million. And to contrast that with the DNC, they raised $400 million. That was an election year. We can't compete. So I want to build a fundraising committee with our best fundraisers. We have people like Boomer Shannon out in California right now that's raised $250,000 for Jeff Hewitt's county campaign. We have people like Jess Mears and Jen Gray and all these great fundraisers, but we've never put them in a room and sat them down and said, what can we do to raise more money? So that's something that I really want to work on, absolutely.
Other than fundraising, what are you going to do for the next 3 to 6 months? If you're elected?
So I really want to work on the candidate educational tool. I really want to get that working. Essentially, I want to show up to our first LNC meeting. I want to talk about viral marketing campaigns that we can run, fundraising, and what we can do to benefit our candidates. And I really want to focus on grassroots. I think the local and state candidates, that's where we're going to win our elections. That's where we're going to make a big difference. And I think the National Party needs to give a little more help to them.
Waffle House or Biscuitville?
Waffle House. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Something I always want to see from leadership positions is, say, like our state affiliate or my county affiliate or you as national. For candidates that are on that level, I think it's important that across the board they have a consistent message from party leadership about what the party itself is working towards if elected. What would your message be for federal level House and Senate candidates to run on that you would want them, that you would want the party to give them as a consistent message to run on?
Well, I think our most important messages right now need to be the anti-war sentiment. There's a lot of people across the country that we see eye to eye on, even in other parties. So I think we stay pretty quiet on anti-war stuff in the national law. I think if we can start pushing that anti-war sentiment a little further, and I'm not talking about the Arvin Bora anti-war sentiment. I'm talking about, ending foreign interventionism, bringing our troops home and letting them heal. I think that's going to really resonate with a lot of people. I think talking about, decriminalizing drugs or ending the drug war, stop locking people up for victimless crimes. I think that's really, really important. And we see eye to eye on just about every other level of politics with everybody on that. So it's definitely something that we need to be pushing. And those are two of my biggest issues. And I would love to see the National Party push those a lot. And jury nullification, I think that's another really big one that we never talk about. And if a prosecutor feels like he's not going to win a case, he's not going to prosecute. So it's a really important thing to talk about as well. Yes, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I largely ignore national. I pay some attention. I'm going to national convention. 2016 was my first one, and I'm looking forward to that. And my beef, I guess, is not anything you said, but what I wish the Libertarian Party nationally would do a little more is pay more attention to non-presidential federal races that have potential or are already getting national attention. And I find out from CNN that there's a hot U.S. House election in Georgia, and I go and look, and there's no Libertarian candidate. And doesn't national have an interest in, being a backup, a backstop for the state party to help get someone on the ballot? Well, for the Jeff Sessions replacement, we only had a write-in candidate. For the Ted Cruz election this year, we had no one until recently that I saw, and just seems a shame to me. But you're talking about, sending national down into county races and helping city council candidates, and that seems to me like biting off more than we can chew and not the right focus for national.
Yeah, no,
that's my
absolutely.
opinion.
And I'm not necessarily saying, so one of the things that I propose is that we run a national spotlight on our candidates, which would we have 800,000 followers on our social media, And so if we can run like a daily spotlight on candidates all around the country, that's gonna help them get more media than they probably will ever get. No, but
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. But to speak to your point, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I talked about the Ron Bishop campaign a lot in Alabama. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. He was a write-in candidate in Alabama. Yep. State that doesn't have ballot access. He's running against Roy Moore and Doug Jones, the country singer. I don't need to say anything else about Roy Moore, do I? No. Okay. And the entire nation's media had descended on the state of Alabama. Literally, every single news outlet was there covering that race. And we put out a meme and a reminder to vote email. And that race could have got us ballot access, instead of dumping $100,000 into the state. So yes, absolutely, I think we need to have, and it was a special election. We didn't have another election to focus on at the time. So I think that's very, very important. Absolutely, 100%. We need to focus on those, especially in the states that have ballot access issues, because we need to get ballot access, and we can't just keep continuously dumping $1 million in ballot access every year. So, yeah, absolutely. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
I'm with Ray and not paying a lot of attention to national most of the time, but my sense is that there were more folks a little exercised about the vice chair situation than the chair situation. Do you have any recommendations for us there?
Yeah, absolutely. I endorsed Alex Merced the day he announced. He is my running mate. He is a great unifier. He's got a very positive message. I'm a little more of a bulldog, so I think that, you know, it's kind of the yin and yang situation. I think we'll back each other up really well. So, but there's a lot of great candidates running that vice chair race. You know, I like Steve Sheets and Joe Hopman and Sam Goldstein. I mean, there's no matter who wins, the party's going to win. So, except for Armavora, yeah. I purposely left out Armavora, absolutely. Any more questions? I've been very vocal. I think that's the wrong way to message, so I have no problem speaking up about that. Any other questions? That's it. Perfect. Well, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for having me up here.
Get some sleep before you get on the road.
Oh, man. I'm sleeping here. My speeches are usually much better, by the way. I'm shaky and tired. I apologize.
Okay, I think that we have the results, including a surprise on that. So elected, Aaron Jeffers, Kevin Naylor, Sarah Brady Wagner, and Adam Brooks.
Yeah, I mean,
Scroll. And a surprise vote for John Stossel.
surprise.
Even though he's not qualified.
Are you sure? Yeah.
Can't see it.
Would you like to challenge the room?
No, we just like to.
Like to see. Can you make it bigger?
Scroll it back up. We don't want to see that. It's awesome.
Yeah. You can't win with this crew.
Yes, you can.
Well,
Yes, you
apparently
can.
did win.
Go ahead, channel Michael Jackson to win. You can't win.
Okay, thanks, guys. And yes, congratulations. Thank you for being willing to serve. You're definitely going to be taxed in the next year to do stuff anyway, so you just won't get all the glory and the bi-weekly phone calls.
Are you going to
Yeah, trying to get it started.
Hang on. we have 6 minutes, and then we're going to have a phone call with our national chair, Nick Starrock. He's excited to talk to us, and but I would grab some coffee, run to the bathroom, come back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff Sessions out of opinion, so those annual sessions.
Square. No, not quite. I'm much more used to it. I'm on the way. Yeah? Oh, okay.
From last month.
We should not be transferring you.
I did go there. I did go
No, that's the other thing. It is. No, I like that.
Okay, great. Well, we should be ready to go. I think
That's the video real quick.
Janitor signs some stage. Okay. I've got my videos. Oh, gotcha. I was trying to figure out. You have to read that. Yeah, go ahead. Sometimes there should be a little sometimes I'm down. I figured that was
If I give 30 minutes, you're talking $56,000 a day. You see those signs, and if there's the grass, signs that happen.
still running everywhere.
I've got so many books.
No, I kind of have to do it myself because I kind of keep track of that. It's called the Blue Cross.
We've had some really contentious events.
Oh,
Still have your purse?
Yeah. We have some people that, you know, are really focused on approaching that meeting. So it is what it is. You know, but everybody has to get right? My fault. It really doesn't matter. The role. Susan does it, Barbara does it, Brian does it, Tom does it. This is their day. It's everybody for the this year? They are calm. Yeah, that's good. I think it's brilliant. Last year was a lot more ranked. I love the like more convention. At least an email that night.
Do you have to give
Good.
Yes, yeah. 1,400. We had to work on grammar.
Attention, folks.
Signs up.
Please take your seats.
You with the scout son?
I like the scout.
Yeah, we might need to turn it up.
I'll turn them off when you're ready.
No, up.
Oh, well, you wait until going up.
So,
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
taxation and stuff.
Wait. Okay, we see you now. Can you hear us? Good.
That's fine. Can you say taxation and stuff 3 times?
Taxation is theft.
Taxation is theft 3 times. I don't know if it matters that there's like a second version of me in here that
don't worry about it.
Doesn't exist. I like Google for some things, but not necessarily this.
Okay, so Nick, you'd like to address the body and then maybe there'll be some questions, but 10 minutes sound good?
10 minutes sounds good to me. But you guys can stand it that long, we can go that long.
Is that a Roundstep shirt you're wearing?
It is an Eric Roundstep shirt. And that's the first lesson for all of you who are running as candidates this year is know your audience. So I really appreciate you allowing me the time to address the North Carolina Convention this morning. I wish I could be in North Carolina. As many of you probably know, we're expecting the 4th Star Work child kind of any day now. And so it didn't seem like a great idea for me to be on the other side of the country. So I hope you'll forgive that. I'm very excited about what you guys are doing in North Carolina this year. We had set a pretty ambitious goal to try and run over 2,000 candidates around the country, and North Carolina is setting the way with running so many candidates and setting records in that. And I think that from the experience that we had in Colorado when we had filled the ballot with candidates, what you're going to find coming out of the 2018 elections is you'll have hundreds more activists, volunteers, new leaders of the party will show up that got involved in campaigns, that got involved in walking their precinct, that talked to people, that got inspired by a candidate.
And so you guys are really doing what's necessary to build us up and build us out into a larger political party. So you all deserve a round of applause. You can give a round of applause to yourself if you like. I hope to see all of you in New Orleans in just over a month at the National Convention. We're going to have, it looks like the biggest off-year convention we've ever had. I just signed a room commitment to increase the room block for, I think, a third time, because so many people were attending that it's just completely outside what we've historically had attending a national convention. We have been breaking records all over the place with the National Party. We had the strongest first quarter for fundraising that we've had since 2004, so over a decade. We've had membership growing again after the drop-off following the presidential election. A lot of stuff that happens every presidential election is people get involved either to support a candidate or oppose a candidate or just because they're interested in presidential politics, and then they drop off the next year. We've managed to stabilize that and move back up where we're growing again. We have, I think, almost 1,000 candidates already running around the country, and more are announcing every single day. Different states have different filing deadlines for that. We have added a bunch of staff at National. We have 2 full-time people supporting candidates and recruiting candidates. We have a head of development and another staffer both working on helping the party raise money and reach out to donors and members and do more things for the members of the party. That's been one of the big pushes of mine starting back in 2014. I used to be a state chair, and I used to have a lot of problems with National. And I wanted to make sure that as a national party, we were providing some sort of service, providing some value to the state affiliates. So we have Andy Burns, who is full-time as an affiliate support specialist. He's developing a CRM that'll allow you to better reach out to your voters, to your members. We have email that we're providing for the state so they don't have to do that email infrastructure and repeat that process in every state. We're working on new projects all the time to try and help all 50 state affiliates grow so that the national party can focus on national things only and the state parties can be more effective. I hope to do that again if you re-elect me as chair in New Orleans. We have a lot of things to do still. We're looking at the best midterm elections we've had in a long time. I believe we'll have more candidates on the ballot than any year going back to 2002. We may actually exceed that number. And we also have plans and strategies in place to break through in a few elections around the country that have been targeted based on demographics, historical voting, and just opportunities. We're trying to be more strategic about getting libertarians elected and make sure that we're showing progress so that more people will come and join the party. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your convention to have me speak from halfway across the country, and I'd be happy to take any questions if people have them.
Questions?
If you have a question, please come up so you can see you and hear you on the microphone here. So if you have a question for Nick, please come down.
Here comes Adam.
No questions at all?
Adam
It's
Rose
coming.
is coming.
Where am I going?
Right here, right here. Where Matt is. Yeah. So just come right up to here. There you go.
Did I go out of the camera?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see you.
Okay, I can see it now.
Yes.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to make a statement that through your time as the chair of the Libertarian Party, I've been very inspired by many things that you've said, and I've been very proud to have you as the chair. Thank you very much for what you've done in your service.
Any other questions?
We have Tom Howell coming up.
Yes, I just wanted to also thank you for everything you've done and to point out that we had other candidates here and we didn't ask them any questions either, so don't worry about that.
Not worried.
Anyone else?
If there aren't any more questions, just thank you guys all for what you're doing. This work is the most important work of the party. What we do at National is important too, but there would be no National Party if there weren't active and vibrant state affiliates. So you guys are doing the work.
One more.
We got one more.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Nick, can you see me?
Hi,
Barbara.
Barbara.
Tell Valerie, thank you for her service too.
That's the race Libertarians on the 18-year plan. And I think you're going to owe me a hug at National because I made everyone else hug me. Sorry.
I will definitely give you a hug at National. All right, well,
Thank
I
you
don't
so
want
much.
to take up any more of your convention. Thank you guys. Have a great, successful convention, and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. Now we need to select the delegates for the National Convention. I hope that has whetted your appetite some. Those talks to head to New Orleans. So the National Convention is June, the end of June and the first couple days of July. I think 30th through 3rd or 2nd. Yeah, 30th through 3rd. Ray, did you have a question?
I thought it was the 1st through the 3rd only, business.
Oh, it's possible. So the very end of June and the very beginning of July. We have, I believe, 28 delegate spots. We will select, we will take nominations for people to be in our delegation, and then we will approve them, and we will appoint a delegation chair, and then the delegate. Traditionally, the delegation chair has been empowered by the body to add qualified delegates, and I'll get to qualifications, as we have space and as people, because it's 5 weeks away, and a lot of us have life stuff, so we want to make sure that we have some flexibility in our delegation. That is what has traditionally been done. But we will appoint the delegation now. There are a couple people who are absent who would like to be appointed. We do have 28 spots and 28 alternate spots. So, yeah.
Are nominations open?
Nominations are open.
I would like to nominate myself and Barbara Howe.
Good question.
As a matter, yes.
The two Brady Wagners, or Wagner Brady's?
Wagner.
One Wagner and one Brady Wagner. Okay.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you. So,
And,
Sean and Pam Hall.
and Eric Robson and David Alex Smith.
Oh, okay.
Christopher Nance, Laura Nance.
Hang on, slow down. Sorry. Who is it?
Eric Robson and David Alex Smith.
Let them win. Brad.
I nominate Brad Hustle.
Wait, Chris? We got you.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
David and Amy Lamont.
David and Amy
If I
Lamont.
start typing, we'll screw it up.
There's a typographical error. It's not Pam Hall, it's Pam Adams.
You forgot my wife.
I'm not typing.
So your obligations in New Orleans are to serve as a member of the North Carolina delegation.
Using ESP.
And of course, your votes for the National Committee and any business of the convention are your own. So you should do what I say. No, just kidding.
I nominate Susan Hogarth.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to go.
I nominate Jane Hogarth.
No, not her.
You
She's
get to vote
unruly.
twice that way.
He's unruly.
You're starting to see my strategy. Ray?
Ray Eubinger from Durham, nominating myself, please, because I've already bought a gold ticket and booked the hotel.
Everybody voted against you.
Charles Lanahan. Wait, Sarah, JJ?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I have a family conflict that I'm trying to overcome, but I understand from what you said that if I sign up a conviction in a week, I can still be a delegate, there's no vacancy at the chairs.
If there is space,
If there's space in, well, not the national before.
and there usually is. Pardon me?
When I've gotten the national before, haven't they made every?
No. No. So I'm sorry, I should have filled you in a little more. We are allocated a certain number of positions, or there's 1,000, is that right, Dr. Orr? There are 1,000 delegates to the National Convention, a fixed number?
1,051 this year.
Okay, thank you. 1,051 delegates to the National Convention, and each state is delegated a certain number of delegate positions based on the number of people. Well, actually, it's based on two things, I think. The number of people they have as national members. So a lot of you guys should also become national members, because I want us to move up in the ranks. And some other factor. That's it.
The other factor, Madam Chair, the other factor concerns the vote totals from the presidential elections.
Right.
So it's not only sustaining membership, but also vote totals from national elections.
Okay, so there's some formula that includes sustaining membership within the national party and the vote total from the national election. And I think we did pretty well in terms of the vote total from our state and for Johnson. And so we have 28 spots and 28 alternate spots. Chris?
Nominate Tom Bailey.
Thank you.
JJ, did you nominate yourself or no?
No, I want to do that later once I'm sure I can come. I don't want to nominate myself. I've got to take it.
Somebody jump up and then jump. Phil?
Joy Elliott.
Joy Elliott, okay. Is there other people who
I
asked?
nominate myself, Jesse Sheeran, and my wife, Virginia.
Jesse and Virginia Sheeran. Sarah?
Laura and Adam Brooks.
Lauren Adam Brooks. Are there other nominations? Tom?
I will make bold to nominate myself.
You're already nominated.
Someone has already done that, but you can.
Thank you.
He wants 2 votes.
He needs another name. Okay, are there others?
I have a question. This is just for the delegates at this point?
Delegates to the National Convention.
Right,
Correct.
not alternates yet.
Correct. Yes, Jeff. Stephen DeFori. Sorry. Yes?
You mentioned you had a couple of people that were not here. Have they been put?
I think we've got them.
Okay.
Mostly Sean and Pam. Wow, this is good. It's possible we can fill out our delegation. That's pretty exciting. JJ.
I was just going to ask, if we have 28 spots, how many of them are now filled?
Good question.
23.
So there's room for you.
Did somebody nominate Brent Ritter yet?
Pardon me?
Did somebody nominate Brent Ritter yet?
Brent DeRitter? And he's not going to make it? Okay.
So we scratch one?
Was he on this? Brent?
Dave. Dave.
Oh.
Are you going?
Okay. Yes. Wait, but no, I was talking to him. Did you, Brian? Are you nominating yourself?
Nominating myself.
Brian Lewis, okay.
What are the qualifications?
The qualifications are that you are a member of the North Carolina Libertarian, the Libertarian Party of North Carolina. I can't believe I did that.
Yay!
That's like the death sentence. I actually was going to propose that be a capital crime in the party. Sorry.
The question's still good.
So yes, that you're a standing member of the LPNC. Yes. We're not sending you there, but
we're allowed.
yes. I will say that traditionally, states will sometimes accept delegates from other states if they have extra spots. Right. And we have actually done that before, have given spots to delegates from other states whose own delegations were filled up. But because of our bylaws now, we can't do that. And that's fine, because it looks like we're gonna fill up our own delegation. Sarah?
Maybe a silly question, but is there any allowance for like virtual presence for delegates?
No, right now. But no, it's not a silly question. The Greens are really big on that. We should all meet in virtual reality space. So, any other nominations?
Tim Harris, nominate myself.
Tim Harris?
Yay.
Come on, 3 more people, we can fill it.
There's gonna be some coming and going. Things come up. But it's exciting. And if you go as, there's still 28 alternate spots as well. So all you have to do is get to New Orleans and then get the other person really drunk. Just saying. You could get me really drunk. It takes 2 beers.
Alternates can also do that with other states as well.
Okay, so, yay, we have not, you want to close nominations? Oh, thank you. I think he is.
I move that we approve this slate of nominees by acclamation.
Second.
Hang on 1 sec, because we may be adding someone.
No.
At any rate, Tom moves that we approve this slate of nominees by acclamation. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have acclamation? So, I'm not sure how to do acclamation. Do we just go yay? Are there any?
There's always one.
So, I would be willing to entertain a motion to, well, actually, we need to appoint a chair of our delegation. And traditionally, I think it's been the chair of the party, the state party, but I'm just gonna say I'm out right now because I am serving on the National Credential Committee. Yeah, so I can't do that.
I nominate Barbara Howe.
Second.
No.
Second. Before the last time.
I believe you are willing to, Barbara is willing to serve, and she has done this before, and she's very good at shepherding people, libertarians. Small but mighty. So is, okay, is everyone, those who approve of Barbara as our delegation chair, aye?
Aye.
Any opposition to Barbara as delegation chair? So we have
I heard one name, it wasn't.
That is the libertarian way.
It's always one.
I would entertain a motion to empower delegation chair. I recognize Tom Howell.
I don't know how many heard her. I would like to say so moved, but the motion is to empower the delegation chair to fill any empty spots with qualified candidates.
Second.
Point of order, it's
Yes.
in the bylaws, the motion's unnecessary.
Oh, it's in the bylaws. Okay, thank you, Brian. So, we don't need that motion. It's out of order.
His motion was to not strike that bylaw.
I set you up.
Welcome to parliamentary tennis. Broken, sir.
Score and set.
Or as I like it.
I like to end on a low note, so there we go. I believe the only thing left is the selection of the judicial committee, yes.
The alternates, how will that be handled?
They're part of the delegation, so, since we have fewer than 28 now, those are the,
No, I would like to nominate myself as an alternate, but only as an alternate.
okay. So noted by the delegation.
the delegation chair will accept your.
That's her job now. Okay, so, the Libertarian Party of North Carolina, which is not the North Carolina Libertarian Party, has a judicial committee appointed, or required by our bylaws to educate any disputes that come up within the party. And we have a proud record of not calling on the judicial committee to do that education, but occasionally we intimidate each other with the prospects of a judicial committee review. So that's good. The current members of the judicial committee are Tom Bailey, Barbara Howe, Ray Ubinger, Joy Elliott, David Perry. Thank you guys all for your service. That committee is appointed yearly instead of every other year. So we need a committee of 5. And so I'm opening the floor to nominations. Tom Howe?
I nominate Barbara Howe.
Barbara Howe.
I nominate Brian Irving.
Brian Irving. I saw a glare in your second.
He does.
Wait, Lonnie? Lonnie Holcomb?
And I will also nominate Ken Pankowski.
Ken Pankowski? Oh boy, you guys are really calling in some old scores.
I nominate Dave Lamont.
Pardon me?
I nominate David Lamont.
David Lamont. We have 5 nominations right now. Laura?
Oh, sorry.
Tom Bailey?
Laura nominates Tom Bailey. Tom, do you accept? Barbara nominates David Perry.
Well, I asked him.
Oh, okay. He does accept.
That's why I finished.
So this committee is 6 at 5? Okay, so we have 7 nominees for 5 positions. And that means we have Kelly again. And of course, Noda. Yeah. Okay, so we'll pass out. Yeah, and we'll select 5 names out of, we will select 5 names out of 7. If you vote for Noda, then your ballot is Noda.
I was going to make it a little bigger.
You don't have to select 5 names, you can select up to 5 names. You can only vote for each person once. But if you vote for Noda anywhere on your ballot, that means none of the above. So even if you put Noda at the top, don't try to
He's
trick
getting
me.
ready. He's doing working on
Did you leave names up there?
it. He's working on it.
So mark your ballot.
He's got to figure out how to get them on the page.
Okay. Yeah, hold on.
Oh, I disconnected it.
Oh, you did? Okay, don't worry.
Don't worry about it. Dr. Laura,
Do you have any bit more
could I put you on the spot for a few closing remarks? Or you could sing.
No, you don't want to hear me sing. I've often suggested that if you want to get an idea of what hell will be like listening to me sing, it's probably pretty good approximation. Again, I sound like a broken record. For those of you who are too young, records are those things you put on things called turntables around. It's a great honor to be here with so many friends, with so many freedom fighters. I think it's important that we always keep in mind what we're trying to do. We are people who basically just simply want to live in peace and harmony with our neighbors. We want to be, in most cases, good neighbors. We want to try to find ways of making life better. We're assembled today to try to help in the political arena, to try to help people understand that if government exists, it's there to provide one basic service, and that is protection of our rights. It's not there to serve as our mommy and daddy. It's not there to get us to eat our vegetables. It's not there to try to inculcate somebody's notion of virtue. It's there to protect our rights. We have an extremely important task. We are trying basically to bring about another American revolution. We're trying to help the American people see that there is a better way. That is the way of individual liberty coupled with personal responsibility. We have a tremendous responsibility, and I think we have a tremendous opportunity to help the United States and ultimately the rest of the world move in a much, much better direction. I thank all of you for taking the valuable time to be here. Again, it is a great honor to be among the presence of true freedom fighters and true heroes. Thank you.
Likewise.
Is no one here to take the podium here?
On behalf of the convention committee, I certainly want to thank everybody who's assisted in making this convention such a fun time and such great camaraderie, and to achieve, overcome all of our technical and venue challenges. So I really want to thank everybody, and I do want to call out Angela Anderson for her leadership for the convention committee. We all worked really well together and sort of balanced everybody's strengths and weaknesses. It was possibly the least stress-free, the most stress-free convention I could ever imagine having organized a part in. So, and thank you everybody for coming and making this such a success.
Barbara, are you collecting and counting the votes for a race for which you are a candidate? See, I trust you.
Don't worry, I voted for you 4 times.
I wanted to also acknowledge all the candidates. All the candidates that we have here right now can sit, all the candidates can stand.
Well, actually, and once you're done voting, if you could make your way to the front for a picture. Yeah.
All right.
Does anybody need the names up so we can turn the lights on for a photo?
Yes.
Yes?
I can't vote yet.
Okay.
Like hours.
So all of these candidates, if they're running as choice, challenge, whatever level these candidates are running, we all give each other legitimacy, we give each other power, and there is not enough that we can say thank you for all of the individuals who stepped forward and are running on the Libertarian ticket in 2018 and in all the years to come. Thank you.